HVAC Webmasters.
Howdy.
Let's do this. All right, guys. Let me make sure we're live over here. Anybody have questions, you can ask them, but we're going to go over some topics here, kind of do a live discussion about keywords. Here we go. All right. So if you'll have questions, ask them, but we're going to kind of go over a few things. And I'd like to talk about keywords. I don't know if it's the greatest time to be talking to HVAC. They're all busy right now, but
it's hot.
It's hot outside, but we're having a little cold front supposedly in Texas.
Yeah, we are shockingly below 100 degrees in the middle of July.
And they called it a cold front. And it's like it's pretty
cold front in July in Texas means 92 and humid.
So let's go over keywords, though. Anybody hanging around listening about keywords? I love keywords when it comes to HVAC. There's so many words, it's ludicrous. So I will tell you, just as a general rule of thumb, like I told you before, I'm really shocked that people aren't going all out on marketing. And when you leave keywords on the table and ranking on the table with Google and being an AI search and basically anything organic, like the digital branded presence of an HVAC company, it's just a damn shame.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that can be done. And back in the day, you would have been happy to pay for like a full page on and get the best spot on the yellow pages, or
that half page or full page ad. If that was money. That
was the thing to do. And nowadays people have so many choices. You can go on and have a website and a Google account and map rankings and use things like data pins and digital branded signaling. And then from Google and AI search and Bing, you can expand out and do all sorts of social media things such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, just multiple things you can do. Now, those are secondary items still, because most old folk that own a home are still and by the numbers, I might add too, are still going to Google primarily,
right?
And maybe to Bing and a little AI search, but not really much of that yet. I always say my kids are getting homework off of it, and kids are doing stuff like that off of it, and people are using AI search, but not usually when it comes to looking for.
Not a lot of kids are looking for AC repair.
Most people still want to go kind of digest the brand, see some reviews, do some stuff like that. And it works, and it's the best thing still. We're always looking at new things, always looking at other items, but you need to be on Google, and you need to do more than just the most basic crud. And that's what most guys do. So
if they even do anything,
basic. So Google's so great that guys will limp up a site and still get some business. Now they'll complain and do poorly and have a pretty bad existence because they limped in and didn't do enough,
right?
But they'll still get a little bit. So back in the day, if you'd have limped in and done a billboard here and there around town, you would have never gotten a call. But with Google, you'll actually get some calls and get some activity. And it's kind of a shame that people do this and they don't try to really do anything. There's all these free things out there. I mean, they could literally dominate and get daily call volume. Their busy season be busier, and their off season be busier, and they just have a better life, and they do next to nothing.
Yeah. And even when they're trying to do something, everybody focuses on the primary keyword, which is a fancy way of saying, if you're an HVAC guy, primary keyword would be like AC repair, AC installation. Since we're in summer, that's
HVAC contractor, furnace repair. So you could pick like 10 words and they'd be the primaries. A lot of clients will come up to us and say, already show up in Google, so I got that. What more can you do?
What first question we ask is, for what?
For what? And they're like, well, I'll show up. And it's like, for what? And so there's probably like 10 or so primary keywords that people want to show up for.
Yeah.
But there's also a whole nother grouping of words. And when you look at keywords, especially in HVAC, there's probably another 1,000 keywords that are the other half of search. So half of all people type in a primary keyword, and half of all people type in what they call low search volume. But low search volume is literally half of all search.
As Nolan likes to put it, weird keywords.
Weird stuff, what you might think of as a long tail, But basically, if somebody types in AC repair and the next person types in, I need help with my Linux M30 Wi-Fi thermostat, or clean the coils on my Carrier 16 series system. So they'll type in weird things, and the weird things is literally half. And so there's so much to talk about on HVAC that it's just a mind-boggling amount of keywords. And so let's talk about this for a second. Let's say somebody is dominant, which they never are when they call.
Yeah, they think they are, but they rarely actually
Let's
are.
say they have the top 10 keywords and they get a lot of calls every day.
Yeah.
And then they call up and they're like, and for those keywords every day, let's just say that they spend a couple of grand on organic stuff. So organic rankings, website, and SEO, and map placement, dealing with an agency. Let's just say they spend $1,000 or $2,000 a month, and then they go down the road of paid. They're like, okay, I've done that.
They think that they have tapped out organic,
right,
and that they have to go to paid to grow.
And they start paying for Angie or Home Advisor, or be careful shaking. Just shake that. It's shaking over and over again. But Angie and all that, and then they think they've done that. So now they start paying Angie.
Yeah.
They start paying Home Advisor, Google Ads, LSA. I actually like LSA a little bit, but they start paying for that. They do some Facebook ads. They do some funneling. I mean, but as I keep talking,
they keep popping on another thing.
They're up 8-10 grand. I was listening to a guy the other day, plumber actually, out of California, spending $75,000 to $100,000 and paid per month. And so I'm not telling you there's directly anything entirely wrong with doing this. And he was happy and productive. Here's the problem: guy spending a couple $1,000s on his organic optimization that has not been legitimately exploited. Like, no cheating, just not legitimately exploited. Not all the keywords, missing half of all the keywords.
Right.
And so to get the same, because that's 80% of the traffic off of Google is organic, and then you can start paying for stuff, but you'd have a hard time paying 10 times that much, 20 times that much, and getting the results of those organic.
Yeah. And just to make that abundantly clear, is what we're talking about is people will spend $2,000 on organic and then go and spend $20,000, $50,000 on paid.
Right.
And the $2,000, what you spend on organic is potentially 80% of all Google traffic. And then you're going over here and spending $50,000 on the additional 20%.
Right. And it literally might get like a 500,000% better deal on organic. And the whole point is, why don't you go after more organic to get the digital brand out there? Let Google know that you're doing more stuff than they think you're doing, because they're not going to show you for all the types of thermostats without or brands or parts without content about it.
Yeah, without them knowing you do it. And they won't guess, so you have to tell them.
Good content.
Yeah, good content.
Not bullet points on your homepage of everything you do.
Yeah, we're talking data pins, obviously.
Data pins, something worthy of showing a client. Well, seriously though, if you don't have content worthy of showing a client, they're not going to show you. You can't just go spam all the content into the website, because it's not a good user experience. And Google doesn't want to show a trashed out website to somebody, but they do want to show people stuff that's relevant to what they search in their market.
Right.
And so 99% of you will not even exploit all the primary keywords potential, much less your auxiliary keywords, all the other stuff that happens.
I mean, we have people call us saying, well, this other company said pick your top 5 keywords and we'll get you number 1 on those. Okay, well, you've taken the top 5, which, if half of all search is the long tail, the specific, what we call weird keywords, if you're getting, then half of it is the primary keywords. 5 primaries is probably less than half of the primaries available. So you end up with this tiny little piece of the pie,
right,
that you're going for. And you could be going for everything.
And you should be trying harder as a digital brand, and not villainizing stuff, thinking you can't get out there, saying other people are up there. What's the saying that we always say?
I'll probably get it wrong, because
they're not up there because they're big. They're big because they're up there.
There you go. Thank you.
They're not up there because they're big. They're big because they're up there. So the people that you idolize, that you put into this category away from who you could be, which you should never do, for the most part, like, I don't have any desire to be Elon, for example, but I have a desire to have much more money.
I'd like to have Elon's money, but I don't want to be Elon.
Yeah, I don't place myself above having much more money. When you do that, you're going to prevent yourself from doing it. I can tell you that those people, all they do is try a little bit. They send out better digital branded signaling than you do, and you could easily participate and try. And so those guys are up there, and even the guys up there that are up there big because they're up there, not up there because they're big, but you make it seem like they're up there because they're big. That's not what happened.
Yeah. They got that dominant position in the market by first getting the dominant position in search.
Right. They got up there because they sent digital branded signaling telling Google, hey, we're good guys and we deserve to be up there. And Google's like, oh, they are good guys, and they seem to deserve to be up there. When people that you've heard of, you can, some of the mechanical companies that go into everything, a lot of times the HVAC will use the word mechanical as stuff begins to go into multiple channels, like HVAC to plumbing to electrical and so on.
You see it a lot on the guys doing commercial.
Right. So the commercial guys that begin to do this in a market, and not every time, depending on the market, but most of the time when they're in several categories, they don't necessarily even show up for because they're not in a niche anymore. They're a contractor at that point. They view the word mechanical as not necessarily HVAC, but even those guys may not show up in search. Google's wanting to show relevant stuff to relevant people, and they need to see digital branded signaling. And you can get up there and show them this stuff. It helps to have some help. We're here to help with this stuff, obviously. You need help. And I think part of it is this too. I know that there's a lot of bad digital marketing agencies out there, but it doesn't mean that all digital marketing agencies are bad, right?
Right.
That's why you're not supposed to blanket stereotype people, because you might find stuff in groups, but not all things are the same on an individual basis. And so a lot of people use great digital marketing agencies as professional services to help get them up in ranking.
Right.
Because you've had a bad experience a few times doesn't mean that all professional services digital marketing agencies are bad. And I would also argue many times contractors will just spend cheap money after cheap money.
The two scenarios we see when someone has gotten a bad agency multiple times is either they spent too little or spent too much. And spent too much usually means spend too much on the wrong thing.
Maybe
they got sold a bundle,
they
including
did
ads and everything else.
Agreed. Yeah.
The old black box billing and all that stuff.
Yeah. So people, you need services. You normally need professional services in business. That's why it exists. And people that'll villainize this stuff and say, oh, they're just up there because they're big and woe is me. I had a guy the other day that I talked to, and I don't ever mention names with this stuff, but it warrants talking about. And I've done this for too long to listen. I don't trust these people. I've been screwed around. And I asked the guy, I said, well, did you spend enough money to get good services? Because this guy sounded like he hadn't.
Yeah.
I was judging him, blanket judging the sound of this guy. Right. But I was right, but I qualified it too. And I did qualify it, but
you asked the question first.
I asked the question. I was thinking it. And he said, well, by God, I spent good money. And I said, can you define good money? And I said, well, that's not good money.
Yeah.
That's cheap money. And I said, if you were to offer that kind of money for a full blown HVAC repair, if somebody offered that, you'd laugh, or they'd go get a system out of the dump that was 18 years old and they'd install it for that much money. Day laborers would put it in.
Yeah.
And so, when you put it in perspective, but people they'll go get just the cheapest services possible and then get upset when things didn't work. I think he was spending money for a website by itself too.
Yeah. And we get it, because you'll call one company and they're saying, oh, we need $10,000 a month.
Right.
And then you call someone and say, oh no, I can build you a website for, $200 a month.
Or just get a website one time for a couple thousand. This guy was getting a website one time for a few thousand. So
pay $2,000 and then pay a $10 hosting fee, and then you're done.
So let's define that real quick. So if you did, it's like, well, $2,000's a lot. It's really not. Now we'll sign people up for our monthly services, and then we'll eat money to get them the best website. And the reason we do that, I'm not promising this in the future, but as of today and for 10 years we've done this. Because the client won't spend the right amount of money on the website.
Nobody wants to spend what it actually takes to build a good
To
website.
build the
to
best
have
website.
professionals design, build, and write.
So we
a
do
proper
that,
website.
right, and provide it because clients don't understand that part of it because it's so cloudy in the world of digital marketing. So they'll get the best of the best, and then we apply things. We apply other high-end essential for SEO and things like data pins. But yeah, people misunderstand that part of it entirely. And so we'll go up and put up the proper website and get everything set up so that they can be successful. But when some guy spends $2,000 on a website and then expects it to sit there like a lame duck online with no digital branded signaling and dominate leads or get I need a few leads a day, you're not going to show up at all because they got a really poor quality website. It says now this poor guy has to make money on this $2,000, do work, put up pages, get a template up, and earn a profit. And he's like, well, and he was trying to justify it. And I said, well, and then you're going to spend nothing and hope it shows up in ranking. I was like, well, that's not really how it works. You have professional services helping send digital branded signaling every single day, and then integration with a team of professional services and things like data pins. You still need like citations and links and domain authority and updates and changes, and a proper website, not some piece of trash that was thrown up one time.
Yeah.
So be the equivalent of throwing up a 1,000 BTU window unit to cool a 5,000 square foot home on the other side of the home. And it's like, well, that's not going to work, but that's what money was put into that.
Yeah. I mean, and again, we get it because you can put up a nice looking website super cheap, but nice looking doesn't mean it works.
You just want good digital brand signaling.
Does what you need it to do.
They need to judge the brand every day. And if they can tell what you're doing on a regular basis, that's why I like data pins, because you can put the technical version of what happened.
Right.
We're just out here working on Linux M30 Wi-Fi thermostat. And then when people look it up, they're like, oh, they work on that. And they did that right there. There's a GPS coordinate and photos of it. That looks like my job. And then Google sees it and says, wow, people like that page.
Yep.
It's relevant to what they're looking for. And they're the only people that have done a decent bit of content about it.
And we say this, we actually say this pretty frequently, but HVAC is actually our favorite category for data pins.
For keywords.
Because of all the specificity.
Yeah.
And there's all the different parts, and HVAC is the one thing where people often know the brand that's in their house
and the part.
Yeah, they'll know the brand of their thermostat, the brand of their AC unit, the brand of their furnace, and they'll know the parts and stuff like that.
What's a solenoid? What it dented? I don't understand. And they'll go look at, somebody got a bid and they go look it up. There's all these wonderful parts and brands and things. I always say it's more than like Sonic drink flavors. There used to be a commercial where they had like, I don't know how many versions of
some ridiculous permutation of Sonic drink combinations.
Absolutely more HVAC combinations.
Yeah,
absolutely. Parts and brands and everything that could go wrong and repair items. And so it's fabulous for that. And I guess all I'm trying to illustrate for it is that people limp in the worst, cheapest trash and then complain and wonder why it doesn't show up. You are a digital brand. You won't show up in ranking unless people see it. And it's fabulous to be up there, and you can get up in ranking. You just need to try a little bit. And yeah, I know there's a lot of charlatans, thieves, and cheats trying to sell you stuff out there in the marketplace. But it's fabulous to be up in ranking, like absolutely fabulous. So
if you've never been there, we like to say this a lot again, but if you've never been up in ranking, you don't really know how good it can get.
Right.
You don't know the difference it makes.
Yeah, it is the business. You can do some of their paid, but you probably won't need to. We have plenty of clients that literally call us and say, I don't do paid anymore.
Yeah. Well, we've had clients come on and they do paid and they get us on, and a year later or sometimes sooner, they're like, well, I'm not doing paid anymore. I get more from organic than I ever got from paid.
It should be like just multiple times less expensive, which basically makes a really happy client. We still do paid advertising for clients. Mm-hmm. We just don't automatically sell it to them. Yeah. I think the problem is, and one of the reasons you guys have a lot of confusion, is somebody will slap together trash. Oh, I got a website, I'm already verified. People all the time will say, oh, I got a website and verified online. No, and I had a guy call me today. Cool guy, no problem with him. Anything. He's like, can't you? And he said, well, I had a website produced. I'm not happy with it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll be happy to take
a look. Make a better one.
So before I was out in the car talking to him before I came in here today.
Yeah.
And a cool guy. I'm probably going to do business with him someday soon. And he said, well, can't you work on the website that I have? And I'm like, the bad one you don't like that doesn't rank, which is the reason for you called. You want me to work on that one? And I said, we do sometimes, and those guys always fail because they have cheap templated websites that are horrible.
Yeah.
And I said,
There's only so much we can do
yeah,
on a bad foundation.
right. And so it'd be the equivalent of somebody going, gosh, man, can't we just want it to go down to 60, 6 degrees in here? I mean, I've got,
there's no glass in the
there's
windows, but you
equipment.
can blast enough cold
Oh,
air
we've
to
got
get it.
got a 24-year-old system. I mean, it's vintage, bro. It's like original, metal rivets. I mean, come on, make it work.
That's artisanal rust.
Yeah, it's like the patina, bro. It's like, yeah, but I just took it up to Antiques Roadshow and got it. Yeah, it's got value.
Oh yes, these units were produced during World War II.
These copper coils have massive value. I'd put a cage around this thing for sure. But yeah, I mean, people call up and they're like, hey, I've got this massive piece of trash here and it's not working. But so, I mean, we do a lot of stuff for them. You should go hardcore. You should go all out. You should retrain your brain for positivity. I'm big on that nowadays. I know it's old school and it seems like it's been overplayed, but everybody's got negative narratives, pissing and moaning. I'm 51 and I've been doing my best to like remove all negative rhetoric down to judgment. I was talking to my aunt. We're raised very religious, as you know, and my aunt's still, I mean, I feel like I'm more religious the older I get. And we don't have to agree on everything, whether you guys, wherever you are in it, but we were Baptists. So Baptists are very
your
judgmental.
Grandfather was a preacher, right?
Yeah. And a Baptist, and I love Baptists, by the way. I don't have any issue, but it's a judgmental group of people, like a Baptist is just a more we're not supposed to judge though. Right. Yeah. So the family as a whole, I mean, that's all we do is go out to eat burgers on Friday night and judge and talk crap about everybody that walk by and in a very nice way. Like, oh, well, bless her heart. I guess she thinks that makes her look good. It's like, well, she could do better than that. I watched somebody walk in, but we judge everybody. And so as I'd gotten older, I mean, I felt like I was just judging everything and everyone. And the only reason I bring it up is because I talk to these guys all the time, and all I see is just judgment of everything around them, or a narrative that was spun in their head. They're like, well, I got this or I got that. Well, this or that. And I was like, well, and I'd like, no, and you heard me say, no, I don't know.
Well, we don't.
Or I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
That's not true. And they're like, what? It's a lot of what I do.
I've literally been sitting down the hall from Nolan, and I'll hear him go, yeah, Well, I'm going to stop you right there because everything you just said is wrong.
I disagree with everything you said. And
yeah, you'll actually say it that way.
I disagree with
a little more politely.
Everything you said just now, and I'll tell you why. And the reason I bring this up to you is because you're sitting there in one of the greatest times of life. And I tell my kids this too because it's really tough. I do in my own Nolan Walker channel now.
Yeah,
and it's touching for me to talk to kids now, and because I have my own kids leaving the house, leaving the nest. And a kid asked me a day before yesterday, do you have any advice for a young person? And I said, okay, I don't know how old you are. I said, I would encourage you to have a daily affirmation and to think positively as though it already occurred as a life you'd like to have. And you're young, so I don't want you to stress yourself about how you're going to get there. I want you just to believe it could happen. That's all I want you to do. And don't stress yourself, be young, and don't put any of it, because everybody's got all this pressure about, be jacked, do this, fight hard till your nose crush it, bro. Yeah. And like it's this bro club stuff, and it's obviously not true, right, entirely, but it's made to where you can't measure up. And but people have these negative narratives, and you push it in your head, and you have reasons where you can't do stuff. And I tell my own kids, it's like there's so many wonderful things available, so many wonderful things. And now here we sit with massive amounts of largely free digital marketing signaling to be able to get your brand out. And the irony of it is, like, the teenagers to 20-somethings all are integrated and checked in, but own nothing. Yeah. But that they'll have stuff eventually. They just don't have business. And then 35, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-olds have businesses and aren't jacked in. they're not set in, but all this stuff exists. And the guys that own like a hard service business of any kind, I don't care if it's a personal service or a home service, it would work with all of it, from an accounting service to a plumber and an HVAC company. And they don't do hardly anything to outreach. And when I say that it could be huge for you and you do literally almost nothing. And because it's a little weird and foreign and you see some other person doing it and you don't like them, you judge it or judge how big it is because you don't understand it or don't agree with the people about it. And you cut yourself from all of it.
Yeah.
And it's maddening to watch it. Now, when I got back from VidCon, and it didn't dawn on me what I was doing there. Like, we had gone to this place where people go to hang out and learn about video production, making money on YouTube predominantly.
Yeah.
And before that was there, we were there 2 days early because we were coming from somewhere else and I didn't want to get there late. We wanted a day to rest. And there was another conference there. And I'm not going to throw this group under the bus, but it was a rough group of people.
Yeah.
And
you told me what it was.
It was a rough group of people. And my kids were like, man, who are all these people? And I'm like, well, they're here for a convention, but they were paid to be here. They're paid to be here by tax dollars and government stuff. And they didn't look like what my kids. I said, well, you know what? Don't judge these people. Let's not judge these people because they're here doing the best they can. I'm going to tell you, in 2 days, you're going to see 50 to 60,000 people descend on this place. And whether you agree with who they are or not, you're going to see all types of people at VidCon, a lot of young people, and they're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They are American entrepreneurs. And when they started showing up, the energy changed entirely.
Yeah.
From this group of people that were paid to sit there, they were eating, food was paid for, and then a bunch. Now, when these other groups showed up, there were far more people, and you didn't see them all eating in the restaurant. I mean, they're paying for their own stuff, to be there. They're out at the food trucks and getting other stuff. They weren't in the restaurant.
Yeah.
But when they showed up, and they were too young to judge almost. Now, I see younger people have trouble with judgment upon them. They worry about what other people think about them.
Yeah.
But a business owner that's older, whereas they can't do it, or their other people did it, or they judged upon somebody else.
Yeah.
And when they do that, they cut off their ability to do it. I know I go off on that stuff too much. I tell you, don't judge. Look out there, go for it, and just I don't know why people don't do it. Drives me crazy.
We did it ourselves. We've been doing these podcasts for a long time.
Yeah.
And if you look back through our archive, I mean, it's good.
It's good
stuff we're talking about, but it's usually me and you sitting there in kind of meh quality, and we limped them out a couple of times a month at most.
Right.
And we would talk about doing more, but every time we tried to do more, we'd stumble over something and we'd say, we just don't know how to do this.
We stopped, and I judged. Yeah. And I know this is not the keyword stuff, but I'm telling you, this is the root of why you don't dominate.
Right.
I promise
it feeds into the attitude about going after it.
I promise you it's why. And I promise you, I know you have narratives that you've spun in your head. Get rid of all of them, go positive, and begin to send signals and look at the beauty and what's available today. Never been available like it is now. We've been doing this for 15 years. And you don't need to do what we're doing right here, right now. What I do to come to you is different than what you should do to come to the client.
Right.
And it will change. But you come to us to help you with the meat and the best of that to get the phone to ring quickly. And then as things change, we help you move gracefully into that direction. If you want to expand from there, we can. But first, our job is to always just get you up in ranking, still Google, map ranking, Pack 3, organic keywords, Bing, and now AI search integrated a little bit, not as much, and local. Thank God, too, because it's better that way.
It is.
AI is not going into local at this point, not really, because the consumer wants to see you, by the way.
Yeah.
They want to see you.
They don't want to necessarily have the AI say, this is the best guy. They want to get the information and digest it themselves.
Guys, we'll talk
on the best guy.
Yeah, right. So, and that's how it works, which is why you need digital brand signaling, so Google's trying to show the best guy.
Right.
If you got any questions, you can ask us. We'll talk for just a little bit longer, but I love this one. And I'm telling you, we'll work for you. I'll say something about it too. We'll work for you in an old school manner that you haven't had in a long time.
Yeah.
Talking to a guy today, we signed up a new client. in Round Rock, Texas. And he's from Texas and he understands Texas. A lot of people don't understand Texas. They talk about us almost like we're mythical at some point. You hear that around, oh, well, y'all are just different. I mean, and y'all are just that, or you're just, you're just, prone to get angry real quick. I'd say, Texas people prone to fight hard, work hard. We'll fight for a client, old school service style. And I pride myself on that. I do. I like it. And I don't, it's an old fashioned Texas. Thank you. Yes, sir. And we'll help you if you need help. And the crew's nice. We're not, I always called it web geek cocky when you call up places, and they hadn't gone anywhere. I don't use that phrase as much, but
yeah, but it's still out there. It's that when there's that, you have a technical question and there's a slight kind of, you can feel them looking down their nose. Well, you don't know that already.
There's an arrogance in the whole spiel,
yeah,
the whole way. They keep the client through this arrogance, and it's just we just don't do that.
Right.
The client is our peer. The client is my peer, is my friend, and is somebody that I champion their digital brand signaling with our companies, and we fight for them shoulder to shoulder and help that client. And everybody here does the same thing, and nobody ever gives them lip or that type of attitude.
Right.
It's just not something that exists in our culture and our company. All right. If anybody had a question, I would have answered it, but I like this stuff. Keywords are fabulous for HVAC. The ability to show up online is fabulous, has not gone anywhere all these years. It is still there, and you should be up there. You should be fighting for it. I'm glad.
Even if you think you're up there, I guarantee you're leaving something on the table.
Guaranteed that
you can get more.
Yeah. So there's more there. It's worth the fight for it. So guys, when you're ready, call us. If you do have questions, subscribe, watch us, ask questions.
Leave them in comments. We'll
comments, social media. Yeah. We'll answer them another day. Like and sub. And that's it. You got anything else?